So I'd like to just begin to, and I really like this use of metaphors when I like to introduce a new concept, is to think about a lesson like a sandwich and to ask you, in what ways might a lesson be like a sandwich? Yes, go ahead.
Just probably has an introduction, the meat of the matter, and then a conclusion.
Exactly, in the very simplest of ways, exactly. You always think about it as a sandwich. You think about it in terms of, and also you can start to think about, what you put inside, how nutritional it is, what's driving it, a little toothpick of what's driving it, what's driving the lesson. As somebody mentioned before, what's the theme that holds it all together. Some people have referred to it as the tell 'em rule. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them again. So that's the, in a very sort of simplistic form, although we want to go beyond the telling part, but it's the doing part as well that the sandwich does not capture. But again, it's this idea of playing with metaphors as a way of perhaps introducing a topic. And so it's for that reason that I've introduced it here today as something that we'll come to realize as a part of this lesson plan template. So of course you want to have the title of what you're doing. It's to get the attention. If you have a provocative title, it grabs people's attention. Perhaps it raises awareness in the way that you've framed your lesson. It's another way of directing their attention. And sometimes you can incorporate that along with the purpose. When you talk about why, the why of the lesson, the larger question that you're going to be addressing, getting them to know why it's important, why this fits in with a larger picture. How is confronting the paradigm, some notion of how this fits in with something that you may have mentioned weeks before or days before, and how this new part fits into it. So it's the why. And then alongside with that, and perhaps as a part of it, it all depends on how you sort of weave it. It's like a weaving project. The lesson becomes like a weaving in a way. Are the learning outcomes? Like, what is it that the students are expected to learn? What will they actually be able to do? Will they be able to critically analyze? Will they be able to create, to construct? Will they be able to understand something in more depth? So the more precise that you could be with what it is that they're going to be learning, the more they can know why and how they're to process. It helps them with a mental model to be able to do that. And there are various words that one can use in thinking about our outcomes. So at the beginning are words like remembering, although it's not very sophisticated, although many teachers still want their students to remember information, to understand it, to apply it, to analyze it, evaluate it, create new knowledge with it, like the synthesis of information is perhaps at the highest. Other words that spew forth from this to remember is recognizing, identifying, recalling. To understand, some other kinds of things you can ask your students to do is to summarize, compare, explain information. To apply, you're carrying out something, an experiment, you're carrying out some kind of research. When you're analyzing, you're discriminating, organizing, deconstructing. when you're evaluating, you're testing, you're critiquing, judging. And creating is perhaps generating a plan, producing something. So these again are the kinds of words that you would use in the construction of your objectives. And it takes a while to learn how to write. I've given many workshops where we sit there for like half the session just generating one meaningful objective, because it takes time to figure out what is it, the essence of what I want the students to really be able to do. And everybody starts off, well, I just want them to understand. And then, well, what more than just understand? Like how, what else do you want them to do? And how will this understanding manifest itself? And how will you know when the students actually get it? And that's the question that takes a while to figure out. Now, when you're beginning your lesson, you want to have something that is like a link or a motivator or something that you get your students to tune in with. It could be a question, it could be a paradox, it could be something that happened in the news and you want to bring to their attention, or something that just will focus their attention. So, did I have a bridge in at all this morning when I started my session?
Questions.
I asked questions. I engaged you in the topic. And so what about the sandwich? Would you think that would be a kind of a bridge-in opportunity? So I sort of had two in a way. You could say the beginning conversation. The beginning conversation, we can call it something else. The part that I was doing was actually the pretest. What I try to do is to find out, what did you already know about lessons? So then I could gauge it, say, oh, well, this is a really sophisticated group. I mean, I knew you would be. They probably know everything there is about a lesson. They've had lessons ever since they were like 5 years old, and they've been having lessons up until the age of whatever. So you've been having lessons for like 30 years. So you know this stuff. But this was a pretest. So sometimes you can begin with a pretest, which is also a bridge-in, which also is the title of the lesson. You can really coordinate some of these elements, but they're all like little distinct parts of what you want to be able to do. So it also diminishes the nervousness. So a topic is not totally brand new. And it's helping the student to search their computer brain to see what can they tag this onto? What do they already know? Where is it there? So the neurons are firing back and forth and they're retrieving the information from wherever it is. So I can connect the new knowledge that I want you to get onto whatever experiences that you've already had that has some kind of that has impacted on you already. So that's another component here that we see is this pretest. So as I sort of gave this away by discussing it preemptively.